Hi, this is Randy of Randy's Roost and the By Annie Bag Makers group on Facebook. In this video, I'm going to show you how to add bias binding to the Clam Up bag. This pattern is by Patterns by Annie. It's very beginner friendly and makes a really cute bag. It comes in 5 sizes. The one I'm working on today is a large. So this binding trick was developed by Sammie Messick, who is a member of the By Annie Bag Makers group, and she did say it was okay to make this video, so thank you. If you see her in the group, please give her a virtual high five. A lot of people really enjoy this binding hack. So I also want to mention real quick that even though it's a small amount of fabric we're going to be using, it's not accounted for in the supply list for the pattern. So just make sure you have enough. Okay, so I'm not going to walk you through the whole pattern here. I'm just going to show you how to add the binding to the zipper. So what I've done so far is I've cut out and quilted and sealed my bag. I've added my grab tabs to the main fabric side, and I've added my side panels to the lining side. And after I put the side panels on, I put them only on one side of the bag, by the way, and I've trimmed them even with the edges of the bag. So while you're working on putting this binding on and adding the zipper, you want these side panels to stay in this position, flat against the lining side. So you don't want them going like this. So if you want to pin them down, you can. Just make sure they stay like that. So the basic idea of what we're going to do here is we're going to attach the bias binding on the main fabric side, and then we're going to fold it around to the lining side, and then we're going to put on our zipper. Okay, so I have my piece of bias binding here. This is 2 1/4 inches wide, and I'm just like we usually do with binding, we're going to fold it in half with the wrong sides together, match up the raw edges. And now I'm going to line up these raw edges with the raw edge of my bag. So while I'm going around the curves, I'm going to go slowly, make sure this all stays aligned on the edge, and I'm going to sew this down with a 1/4 inch seam. So when you're sewing binding onto a curve, the binding is going to lift up on its folded edge. It's supposed to do that because you're going around a curve. Okay, so I have my bias binding sewn on my main fabric side, and I've got a little extra here, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. Okay, so next what we need to do is bring this binding around to the lining side. Now, in Sammie's instructions, she said to use a clear washable school glue to tack this side of the binding down. I didn't find that necessary. You can certainly do that if you want to, but I found that just pressing it in place worked well for me. Okay, so I have the bias binding pressed in place onto the lining side. And this is the only time you will hear me saying to press bias binding. Usually that's a big no-no. But in this case, we do need to. If you do use glue, pressing it will also help the glue sort of set really quickly. So you definitely want to press in this case. So what we want to do now is take our zipper. And the way I prepare my zippers is I just put a safety pin across the edge just so I don't lose the pull. So what we want to do now is leave a little leeway here. And what we want to do is line up the binding so that it's right next to the zipper teeth. Okay, the edge of the binding is right up against the zipper teeth. And the idea here is we want to stitch in the ditch. Now, the ditch is the little sort of groove that's in between the bias binding and your bag. So the idea here is when we stitch this down, we're not only going to sew the zipper on, but we're also going to catch the other side of the binding in our line of stitching. So you want to do both at once. Okay, like I said, leave a little leeway here, just so when you're assembling the rest of the bag, you can open the zipper all the way and get the pulls out of your way. Okay, so while you sew this down, you want the binding to stay right next to the zipper teeth. Don't let it go over the zipper teeth, but you want it right up against the teeth. And then you're going to be sewing right in that area, right where the binding meets the main fabric part of your bag. I use a top stitch length for this. For me, that's a 3.5. And also, please note that your bobbin thread is going to be showing on your zipper tape on the inside of your bag. So I like to make sure that thread is going to blend in with the zipper tape. Okay, so my zipper is sewn on, and you can see that the zipper tape is lifting up again, because we're going around a curve, that's perfectly normal. So you can see my stitching on the other side. I used a different color thread so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and then my stitching on the front is pretty much invisible because it's in the ditch. So at this point, what you want to do is sew the other side of your side panels to the other side of your bag as stated in the pattern, and then you're basically going to follow all these same steps again on the other side of the bag. Okay, so I hope you found this helpful. If you're not already in the By Any Bag Makers group, I'll put the link in the description, and I'll put a link to the pattern. Okay, bye-bye.